A while back, I bought this old Ford from my wife's grandmother. And one of the first things I did was put a brand new set of tires on it because the ones that were on it were older than my 12-year-old son. And so, of course, it would stand to reason that shortly thereafter, I come into a new set of wheels for free. And I need new tires all over again. So today we're gonna upgrade this truck to give it a super 90s look. And the only tire machine I'm gonna use, these two bad boys right here. Welcome to Project Hardway. Let's put some tires on with our hands. All right, so here's the deal. Here's what we got. These are an old school, I think like late 80s or definitely 90s, American Racing AR39. This is a really old school cool wheel you see on a lot of old stuff from back then. This is a 16x7. My buddy Steve had these sitting in his shop for forever. He's like, hey, I'll let you have those. It's like, okay. He said, they're for a Ford. I said, why didn't you tell me that when I got the truck? I'd have bought new tires for these instead. Nonetheless, I've got them now, and they were free. Then I was casually cruising Facebook Marketplace, and I found a brand new set of tires, unused, for $200. And they're about the size I was looking for. It's a 245/70/16. They are about an inch taller than the stock tire. Snatched those up. So what we're going to do is we're going to knock these old tires off, and I'm not going to pay a shop to do it. We're going to mount these tires on the wheel ourselves, and in the process, clean these wheels up a little bit. All right, like David Banner, let's get down on the floor. First thing we need to do, if your tire's got air in it, you got to get it out. You can take the valve stem out, which you're going to want to do anyway. This little tool here has got this little thing. You stick it in there, you twist it out. We're putting new valve stems on this, so we'll just do this the easy way. Now, I went to Harbor Freight and I bought this tire debeating tool with swan neck. Essentially, you got to get this thing under the edge of the rim, get it between the wheel and the tire, and pry on it to get that wheel to pop, or that tire to pop off of the rim there. You're going to need a fulcrum. So what we're going to do, take this ratchet strap, we'll hook it into the center of the wheel here. Pull that up over, and you want to adjust this thing to where it's about lined when you pull it. See, it's triangulated here, a little here, then over here. I want the point here where my debeater is going in to be kind of lined up with the edge of the wheel. So we'll adjust this ratchet strap right quick. All right, so what this will do is when I set my debeater here and I wiggle it, jiggle it down there in between the tire and the wheel, it gives me that fulcrum, that pivot point I need to where I apply pressure this way, it pushes pressure that way. It also helps keep this tucked in there. Now this tire is very old and dry rotted, and it's too wide for this wheel. This is a 255/50/16, which would look really cool on like a hot rod or a lowered truck, but it's a little short for what we need. But it's also technically too wide for a 7-inch wide tire, which means that the tread is going to be working against me because it wants to help pull that bead back towards the outside of the wheel. Where'd my hammer go? Now, if you're having a hard time getting that tool to go in between there, carefully get after it with a hammer, and it wedges it in there. And now I just be mindful not to lose my foot, and I'll just pry down on that. Now, some tires will pop right down. These are going to be a bit of a struggle, but you see, I've got a bit of a gap there. So you can use some dish soap mixed with water, or I've got this really expensive but absolutely useless interior cleaner. I don't want to throw it away, but I don't like using it in the car, so use it here. I'm going to get that down there between the wheel and the tire so that it can kind of work its way in there and help that slide down a little better. You get a little motion there, move it over a couple inches, and just slowly and methodically work it off. Now this is where things become a real struggle as you slowly go around the wheel just a little bit at a time, taking these little bites as you go around and have to stop and reposition your straps to get a new anchor point on the edge of the wheel. But then finally... Ooh, I think I'm down on this side. Hell yeah. All right. Oh, what you got? There we go. There it went. I can now just give it a little push around the edges. Now I got to flip it over. Do the same thing on the other side. All right, here we go, the other side. The second side does tend to be a little bit easier to get it to pop off. All right, we are debeaded on both sides. Now, to save my back from bending over so much, we're going to take this over to the paint booth to finish it up. All right, now that we're in the paint booth, time to get this tire off of this wheel. When I was at Harbor Freight picking up my debeater, I also picked up these, a couple of tire spoons. Essentially, you want to get the beads down into the low point of the wheel, and then you can stick these in there and pry it up over the edge. Oh, this one, the bead went back up a little bit. Get off of there. We don't belong there anymore. Well, excuse me a moment while I re-debead this wheel. There we go. Just a little persuasion is all it needed. Yep, now you see down in there, the wheel gets a little narrower, so you want it down there off the bead. Now with one side pushed down into the low point of the wheel, you get the other side where you can pull it the opposite direction. It gives you a little bit of stretch to get it up over the edge here. In theory. Again, that wide tread is working against me because it wants to keep the bead close to the edge of the wheel instead of letting it just sink down a bit. But, see there? And you got to get more than one spoon because, well, you got one in there. Well, now you need another. You stay right there. Here. Hold that for me. And there we go. Now we can just keep prying. And that should be enough that I can get this side off with my hands. That's a lot of soap. There we go. There's one side ready to roll off. Flip the old thing over. Re-debead that tire again. Sorry for yelling. There we go. See, you got a couple of different ends on these spoons. One's kind of flat, one's got a hook. I think the hook is going to be the key here. I'm going to prop this bad girl up at an angle. I've got to reach in here, get the spoon on the other side of that inner bead, and then leverage it. Oh, come on. And leverage it up to the outer edge of the wheel. Come on. There we go. Ow. Here, hold that for me. That's right, you guys don't have thumbs. You can't hold that for me. Here we go. You stay there. The back end tends to be easier to get off. You just gotta work around the tire. I'm gonna stick it in this way. Oh, be careful doing this, because if I stick it in this way, I'm now working against the face of my wheel, and I could scratch it, which if you got nice wheels, be careful. You know, you care about those.
And here we go, I'm back on the struggle bus again. I was having the hardest time trying to get a good bite on that inner bead to get it over the face of the lip. Eventually I got it to a point where, even though I was prying on the face of the wheel, I was able to eventually get enough leverage on it to overcome the wheel and the weight of it trying to shift around, and there we go.
There we go. Get out of here. All right, so now I just need to clean it up, get all that soapy gunk off there. I'm going to take it outside, hit it with a hose, and we'll come back and take a look at the surface of the wheel and what we're going to do to clean it up a little bit. All right, that interior cleaner is not good on the interior panels, but it looks like it does a pretty good job on cleaning the old wheels. Now, we're going to take a look at these wheels here. They are a polished aluminum wheel, but they are also clear coated. And, they look okay-ish on camera, but they've got some things going on. They're old, they've been used and abused. It's a truck wheel. I'm not going to make these show car ready because, well, it's going on an old work truck. But I would like to clean them up a little bit while I've got the opportunity. I'm going to wet sand the face, the aluminum face. I'm going to leave the black portion alone. I'm going to wet sand the aluminum face, and then we're going to hit it with the polisher. Unfortunately, I need some 800 grit for some of these spots, but I don't have any, so I'm going to do the best I can with 1,000. I'm not even going to step it up too crazy. I'm going to go real quick 1,000, then 15, then 2,000, then I'm going to hit it with my buffer. All right, so I'm just going to hit it with some clean water. Oh, look at all that soap that's still on there. Okay. Got one of these soft blocks. Real good for, not flat surfaces. You could sand with your fingers, but then, sanding with your fingers doesn't give an even sand. You can get grooves from your shape of your fingers. So just going to go around, make the old girl a little hazy is all. I'm going to have to spend a little bit more time on some of these rougher spots. I'm not going to be able to get those completely cleaned up with the 1,000 grit. But hopefully I can just make them look a little better, less noticeable. Less noticeable is what we're going for, right? All right, I'll check back in with you in a second. All right, there we go. After 1,000 grit wet sanding, yeah, it's cleaned it up a little bit, made the clear coat on it a little hazy. I did get a little ballsy and touch a few of these spots with some 400 grit. Really, that 1,000 grit just kind of lightly touched the surface. This heavier stuff would need some more work. This would be great if I had one of those little small 3-inch sanders. I could just get in there and dig into it and hopefully not go too far, but we're not doing that. We're just making it look a little bit better. So I don't even think I'm going to hit it with the 1,500. I'm just going to smack it with the 2,000, and then we'll roll the polisher across it. Plan. Now there's the 2,000. I think that's all the abuse I care to put my hands through on this wheel. We'll go ahead and get to the mop. We're not using anything special, just this, old bottle of McGuire's Ultimate Compound. It's a good all around, just make it shine juice to put on there. So just go put a little bit on the pad. See, what we're really doing is we're making the parts that are still good super shiny, so it distracts you from the parts that are bad. Okay, that's good. That's all the polishing I care to do on this wheel. Really, the clear coat needs to be stripped down, or it needs to have a lot more heavier sanding done to it. I don't care. It's shiny and it looks good from over there. So let's get back to putting tires on this. All right, so before I go popping the tire on, got to put a new valve stem in it. Digging around in a bin over there, I had a whole full set of valve stems, brand new. Now you can manhandle this thing in here, pull it in here, push it in here, grab it with a pair of pliers, or that valve stem tool that we talked about earlier screws onto the end and helps you pull it in. So put that in there, twist it on, give it a pop, get it fully secure into place. There we go, one valve stem. Now the tires we got, I bought these because, well, I found them. You know, they were $200 on Facebook Marketplace. Somebody had bought them thinking that they could use them on their truck. They said, no, I need to do something different. So now I've got them here. A couple of things to note. You see these dots on the sidewall. What those are is the yellow dot is the lightest area of the tire. They say you want to line that up with the valve stem because the valve stem has some weight, which throws off a bit of the balance on the wheel. That should help, you know, getting them balanced a little bit better. That's good for daily driver stuff. The red dot or orange dot is the shortest. You know, this thing isn't perfectly round. It's not perfectly spaced. There's little nuances. This is the shortest area of the tire, and it should be mounted. If you've got newer, fancier wheels, there might be a notch that lets you know what is the tallest part of the wheel, because it too is not absolutely perfect. You would want to line those up. What we're going to do is we're going to line up our yellow dot with a valve stem. I'm going to take that terrible interior cleaner that works well as a wheel cleaner and just get the edge of this nice and soapy, starting on the back side. Might as well get, while I'm in here, this side good and lubed up. Then we're just going to go, again, there's a leaf in there. I'm going to line that yellow dot up with my valve stem. And if you've got enough leverage or a cheap enough tire or, you know, a younger back, you can just take this first end and push it down over the wheel with no tools needed. I will not have such luck. All right, like David Banner again, we're getting down on the floor. Hit my face on the table. Push. Am I in the low spot of the wheel? Yep. Yeah, that's as far as I'm going to get her, I reckon. Well, she's on about halfway around there, so I'm just going to take my tire spoons again. Just take little bites. Try to get it over the edge without the other side coming back off opposite of it. So you might want to put a hand there, kind of put some pressure on it. You know, little bites if you have to. Oh, God. Come to the other side. Prise on it a little bit. Yeah, we're getting somewhere now. Do not want to catch one of these bad boys to my face. Get over there, you. There we go. You know, if the wheel wants to move. That works against you when you're trying to use leverage on something. You know, it'd be like that sometimes. How does an elephant... Oh, no, that's not how it goes. How do ants eat an elephant one bite at a time? Why are you being so stubborn? Probably because I got it on a rickety-ass Walmart card table. Should do this on the floor or something. It's like one of my lifetime goals to own a tire machine. That'd be so cool. Say we're almost there. Just a little bit more fight and bite. My back popped. There we go. There's the one side. Make sure I line myself back up with my valve stem again on my yellow dot. And just start working this bad boy in some more. Now the other side. A little different. Just get some here. Get some here. Oh, I wanted it to stay there. We'll try to get a big bite to start. Watch my fingers there. I'll get a good bite out of it, and dang thing will bite one of them off.
So here we go again. I'm back on the struggle bus. I fought with this thing Every time I would try to move the spoon to take another bite of it, the bead would pop back up over the side of the wheel. Eventually I did have to just take the thing, set it down on the ground to where I could put my knee and my foot on it to hold it in place while I took the spoon out and moved it to get another bite. But once I was able to do that, once you get around more than halfway, it's harder, but it's not going to pop off and you can get that thing back on there.
All right, now that it's on there, my battery's about to die. All right, so now that I've got the tire on here, we've got to seat the bead. You can do that by putting an air chuck on there and then, sit here and try to finagle the wheel so it seals up the bead and eventually pops out. Instead, we're going to use a process of rapid thermal expansion. So I'm going to get some brake cleaner down in there and down in there. I'm going to hook my air hose up to it because I need to get air in it once it expands. Otherwise, it'll contract. And come on now. I guess I should have put more brake cleaner in it. How much brake cleaner is too much brake cleaner? The world may never know. Woo! Get some air in there before it contracts. And there we have it. One removed and mounted new tire on the wheel. Now I just got to do that 3 more times. Okay, real quick, I want to show you guys a side-by-side comparison of our new tires versus the stock tires that are on it. This is a stock wheel. It's a 15 by 7.5. Mounted on it is a 235 75 15. 235 being 235 millimeters tread width, and that 75 being that the sidewall, the height of the sidewall is 75% of the size of the tread. Our new tire is a 245 70 on a 16 by 7. That puts the new tire just about an inch wider and an inch taller than our factory size tire. Now, anytime that you go with a tire that is taller or shorter than factory, it will throw off your speedometer reading, unless you've got a GPS speedometer. It's effectively the same as changing your gear ratio. And with a taller tire, your speedometer is going to show that you're going slower than you actually are, whereas with a shorter tire, your speedometer is going to say you're going faster than you actually are. So keep that in mind. I like to download a GPS speedometer on my phone, figure out how fast I'm actually going versus what the speedometer says, and that can keep you out of trouble. Now, I am missing one of the center caps of these wheels, and the 3 that I've got are in pretty rough shape, but I ordered just one to replace the one that's missing because, I could think of something else to spend $140 on. So I've got one on the way, and these other 3, I'll just have to hand polish them to clean them up a little bit for now. Ooh, yeah. All right, there we go. We got a new set of wheels on the truck that really vibe with it, give it that hardcore 90s look, like from the era it's from. I did end up taking these wheels to a shop and having them machine balance it because that's what you should do. But I've got upgraded wheels and tires, and after I sold my old wheels and tires for pretty much what I paid for the tires in the beginning, I'm out of pocket less for these than I was initially for the other set of tires, and we've been upgraded. So cool. Now, I've done a lot of work to this truck, and you can see that on the channel, and trust me, there's a lot more work to come. Just stay tuned. Keep watching Project Hardway. Thanks, and see you next time.